Hello and welcome to the Robot 3 Days at Penn State. I'm Jonah. Today we're doing the mechanism showcase of our game piece manipulator as part of our series following a robot reveal to kind of explain what we did. Let's come over to our robot here. The kind of core archetype behind our manipulators is we wanted to both score coral and collect algae in the same action. We think that that's maybe an efficiency that could be out in the game and is interesting. To make this happen, we had to offset our coral manipulator by 6.5 inches from our algae manipulator and raise it 8 inches on center. So the center of the coral is 8 inches over the center of the algae. We used these mechanisms to do it, but this is an idea that we think could be done a number of ways that are likely better than what we did. Both mechanisms are mounted to a 2-stage Thrifty Bot elevator powered by 2 Neos on a 15:1 ratio. They provide a throw of 52 inches, which enables us to score algae in the processor on the low end and collect algae from L3 on the high end, and intake coral from the source on the low end and score coral in L4 on the high end. So we've offset this up to be able to reach higher. However, we had to sacrifice the ability for our mechanisms to reach the ground. So regardless of what mechanism we chose, we could not use the same ones to do a ground intake, despite their potential ability to do so. So here are the mechanisms we use to accomplish this. Our coral manipulator is defined by its ability to intake from the source and score passively using one motor. The defining features of our coral manipulator are that it can intake from the source and passively score. We are running one Neo 550 on a 20:1 ratio with a 4-inch green compliant wheel. When it takes from the source, we slide it in, and the compression from the wheel squeezes it against the sheet of polycarb, retaining it quite well. One potential improvement we could make is some kind of tab or lip here that can just hold it in to stop it from really working its way loose until we're ready to score. When it is time to score, we hold it in a slightly inclined position. The reef has a bar that looks something like this. Our reef's gone. And we slide it in. It wrenches the coral out of the back. It wrenches the coral past this green intake wheel around this lever bar because we're only partially supporting the coral. Because the coral is unconstrained at the top here, it's able to come free, wrench off, and fall down, as you saw in the review video. This means that our operator does not have to worry about outtaking the coral. So the goal and what it feels like to operate is you really are just trying to hit the thing. You're trying to hit the end of the coral. As soon as you get it on enough to wrench it, you're pretty much on the reef, and it will fall into place. This whole thing is bent polycarb construction. There are a number of different ways to do this. This is probably not the simplest or most efficient, and is on a wrist. The wrist is there because we want to intake from the source, which is kind of this angle, and we want to score in the L4 level. For the L4 level, you do need a slight depression. But we think if you want to just score in L4, L2, L3, and L1, so all the levels, you could use a constant angle manipulator at this kind of slight angle depression so that as you push onto L4, you still get that wrenching effect, if that makes sense. Cutting this motor simplifies the design, but you would need to find another way to intake, or perhaps there's a more creative solution. Moving down, as I said, right 8 inches below center to center, we got our algae intake. Yeah, the algae intake is pretty simple. It's 2 sets of counter-rotating 4-inch black compliant wheels held in by 2 polycarbonate arms that provide some flex and impact resistance on independently driven Neo 550s with a 20:1 ratio. Our algae intake runs an 18-inch center distance with 14 inches of space for the ball, leaving a 2-inch compression. This was not super robustly found, so there may be a better and more efficient way to grab the algae. We were moving at tempo and found something that worked. Your team may come to a different solution. The compliance in these arms is very important because as we come up to the source, we actually bend these out. When we impact with the coral station, these flex such that our bumper is pressed up against it so we can square ourselves well. we feel that while maybe possible with aluminum, polycarbonate was a good choice for these two sections. As we insert algae, the wheels would be running, and they kind of push it in and hold it pretty well. We don't power either these wheels or that wheel during kind of transportation of the pieces. The algae is supported on the bottom by this flex piece of polycarbonate and held just by the static pressure of those. We chose side rollers on the algae because we felt that you can come in from a bigger degree of angles, if that makes sense. So with our whole swapping idea, you're coming in like this, algae's here. You can hit the algae anywhere on the sphere and it'll grab it and bring it in. And then you just have to get the coral somewhere on the reef. So the side, I think, enables us to do that more so than top bottom. Additionally, for the packaging, top bottom takes up a lot of space. Now the stowage mechanisms is unique between both of them. The second function that our motorized wrist provides is that we stow in this position here. For the stowage of the algae mechanism, we raise the elevator, lower the algae arms, if I can do this on my own, but lower the algae arms and hold them behind these flex pieces of aluminum. As we raise it, it pops free. Then for the rest of the match, we are unpowered and out, and are free to bounce and flex out of the way. We found that the flexion was really not an issue. We have surgical tube as the return, and we felt it was pretty effective. That's the breakdown of our game piece manipulation mechanisms. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing what you do in the coming weeks. This was a really fun challenge to tackle, and we hope you've learned something from the way we approached it.